Steve Robinson now with us. Steve Robinson, of course, editor of the Maine Wire. Steve, happy Saturday.
Hey, I just want the left wing guys treated like I would be treated or you would be treated if you threw a mango at a Democratic politician, because there would be no question in that case that a mango is a deadly weapon, and you deserve to be locked up for 5 years. I mean, the lack of one principle these people have applied to political violence is just flabbergasting. It was like what is it, 6 years ago now that, grandmas who took a stroll through the Capitol building after Capitol Police opened the door and let them in. They wanted those people hunted down and locked up for 15 years. I mean, the main January 6th protesters, including nonviolent ones, did more time behind bars than Elliot Cutler. And he had 85,000 videos of child pornography, and there's no left-wing outrage in this state about that. So sure, take your mangoes, John. You might need the vitamin C.
Coming in hot this morning, Steve Robinson, always good to talk to you, my friend. What's going on in Augusta?
Well, I think there was a little bit of news late last night because the House, by a vote, a margin of one vote, approved a bill that would prohibit males from participating in female sports. Almost certainly this is doomed in the Senate, not even going to make it to Governor Mills' desk. There may be some more shenanigans here, but this is not. People should not take this as a glimpse that the state legislature has suddenly come to its senses on this issue and is going to give Governor Janet Mills a legislative solution or a legislative way out of the mess that she's created for the state by running her mouth to President Trump. And this is the Republican minority is smaller in the Senate, and Senator Rick Bennett, an alleged Republican, is voting to keep males in girls' sports. And before that vote late last night, there was some drama around the red flag law. The Sportsmen's Alliance of Maine, Gun Owners of Maine, and some conservative groups were very effective at putting pressure on lawmakers and getting them to hold a public hearing for the red flag law referendum, which they're required to do that by law. They're trying to subvert and circumvent the law. Well, exactly. It's weird. It's like you need this critical mass of threshold to get the left to just obey the law. Seems like all the regular norms and traditions of the state house are breaking if they get in the way of Democrats exercising power, which in this case they were. The public hearing was devastating for advocates of gun control. Maine State Police Lieutenant Michael Johnston gave up and gave 45 minutes of just masterful testimony. He is the state police official who trains on Maine's current yellow flag law. He explained how it's working, how many times it's been used, how it's effective. He explained the differences between Maine's current law and what the referendum would implement. And he basically said if we implement this law, it's going to jeopardize the lives of cops, domestic abuse victims. It's going to undermine our current protections, and all the bad things that the gun control advocates claim will come true without red flag will come true with red flag. The guy's not partisan in any way, but came out and just gave a factual demolition of any arguments that anyone could have, left, right, or center, in favor of this, gun control referendum, which is, being funded by out-of-state billionaires and pursued by, an opera singer from New York.
Wow, that was a lot. I really wish this wasn't going on in Augusta. So let's talk about the public hearing for a second. The vignette that you just described, is that why Democrats didn't want to allow this to take place? Because they knew that the public hearing from experts on what's actually at stake here would be so damaging to their case? Or what?
No, 100%. 100%. They probably had some decent intelligence that the governor's chief counsel was going to be issuing testimony against this, and they probably knew that the state police would be as well, just because, the state police, as well as I do, Aaron, that a figure from the police is not coming in to give governor gives implicit or explicit approval of that happening.
Yeah.
A state police lieutenant just doesn't, wake up in the morning and just, I'm going to go testify on this bill because I've got a personal feeling about it, especially not in uniform.
No.
So this was an
If they're in
expression.
uniform, it's cleared by the commissioner, it's cleared by the governor, it's cleared by people like me that work for the governor, like all of that.
Hello?
We still have you, Steve?
Can you hear me?
I got you, Steve. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I was just they knew this was coming. That this was the testimony that they tried to skip hearings to avoid letting people hear. But just think about how astonishing that is, though. That like the reason that they tried to break the law was to deprive voters of information from an expert who's not only enforcing our current yellow flag law, but would be enforcing this referendum and would be training other state police on how to enforce the prescriptions in this referendum. So like they were trying to break the law to keep voters ignorant. It's just an expression of how if they win this referendum, that's how they'll have done it, by keeping voters ignorant and telling them things that the Maine State Police say aren't true.
I think it's just like another example of the Democracy Party. Like the only way that they can save democracy, protect democracy, is by undermining democracy. I don't know why it isn't more apparent to everyone what's actually at stake and what's actually going on. I want to ask you, Steve, as all of this relates to the upcoming election, we have people getting in the race, right? Rick Bennett, I don't understand the politics for him of switching his position on the transgender sports bill when he's getting ready to announce his bid for governor. Maybe it's so he can say, oh, I'm not one of those Republicans, because he thinks that makes him more credible in an independent lane. But I was out last night. I ran into some Democrat staffers, and I was asking them kind of how they thought their field was shaping up. And they were telling me that, Troy Jackson really has the best shot and the best lane here. And I just think these people are so out of touch with reality. Like, how do you think all of this feeds into the 2026 races that we have coming ahead?
Well, I think there was a poll that came out from UNH a couple of weeks ago where they ask Maine voters, what is your primary concern? Basically, what is your biggest concern or fear about in the state in terms of politics? It's one of those big polls. It's an issue poll. Usually people say the economy. I mean, that's probably the number one most frequently cited item, the economy, or terrorism, public safety, drugs, something like that. But in this case, the number one cited concern was radical left-wing figures, fringe. I forget exactly how they phrased it in the poll question, but it was a specific political ideology on the left. Far left radical ideology was the number one concern cited. It was a plurality, of course. It was like 14 or 15%, but that's an astonishing thing because very rarely do they name a specific ideology in these polls. It's almost always the economy, terrorism, safety, whatever. For people on the left, it could be global warming, schools. But this was far left ideology. So I think they've got a real problem, and that's not going to be something that a Democratic primary accommodates. I think that there is certainly it's getting to be a crowded field in the far left of the Democratic primary, but Troy's over there with them.
Right.
He may have like this folksy opinion. I mean, maybe 20 years ago he could have claimed to be a blue dog Democrat or a centrist Democrat,
pro-labor, populist.
Yeah. But now he's on crony capitalist subsidies for out-of-state energy companies. He's a big guy right there. He's right there with him. His fingerprints are all over the solar tax. Fingerprints are all over raising taxes on poor people. He's been supportive of the late-term abortion law, the transgender policies that were signed in the last legislature. I mean, he has gone way, way far to the left. So, I think the Democratic staffers may be deceiving themselves a little bit, talking themselves into a corner. But I don't think that maybe they're getting paid by Troy. Who knows? But I also think Troy's, in a foot race with a grand jury at this moment. I mean, if Trump can ever confirm a U.S. attorney, I think Troy's going to have a real problem with the FHA mortgage that he admitted to lying in order to receive. He effectively, lied on a mortgage document to get an investment property that he made, a decent capital gain on, which you're not allowed to do. The FBI refers to that as FHA fraud. And it's among the crimes that Letitia James, the former Attorney General for New York, is being investigated for. So the Trump
I did see
administration,
you
the Trump
refer to
Justice
him
Department is
as Troy Letitia Jackson, which I did. I think
yeah,
I texted you and I said I thought that was rather well put.
pretty good,
You're listening to
pretty good.
Inside Maine. I'm Aaron Chadbourne. We're speaking with Steve Robinson from the Maine Wire. Steve, in the couple minutes that we have left, obviously today the military parade, the Army parade, that was meant to be a celebration of America, its role in the world, our military might, our success. It was supposed to be a positive thing. The left is seizing, weaponizing, one would say, in order to make it like an anti-Trump day, and they really want violence and unrest, and they really want to kind of draw this narrative of Trump as this authoritarian, dictatorial figure. What do you expect to see unfold today, and kind of how should people be thinking about it?
Oh, I mean, I just think it's amazing that the overlap is almost 100% between people attending No Kings protests and the people who wanted you gunned down in the streets if you didn't put a mask on during COVID. Like these are, it's weird. These are the same, boomers, who are probably still wearing their COVID masks, who think that Janet Mills was totally entitled to become a unilateral governor, suspend the legislature, suspend the First Amendment, shut down the whole state, and wield power like an actual king because of a mild flu pandemic from China. And then they're turning around and saying that the guy in the White House who has been overruled on foreign policy and military policy by one of 675 Article 3 district judges over and over and over again, and has just said, all right, well, I guess we've got to go to court to win this against these unelected judges. Like, that's your king. Like, I mean, if he's going to get tarred with it, he should at least, I would say, show a little bit more defiance in the face of a Supreme Court and a federal judiciary that's trying to prevent him from carrying out a very popular deportation policy. I mean, the anti-immigration, anti-illegal immigration policies of the Trump administration are very, very popular. And there's just a handful of, again, radical fringe Democrats who, they've already got theirs. Most of them are retired, or they have trust funds. They don't have to work. They don't have to worry about, the economic concerns that working people in this state have. So they can go out and do their No Kings protest and do some costume play and pretend like they're oppressed. The real oppressed people in this state, at least, are the people who have to, work during the day and, aren't just want to go fishing or go to church on the weekends.
In the final minutes we have left, I want to ask you about Chinese weed. But before I do, who do you see emerging right now in the Republican field for governor? Is anyone really starting to resonate out there, or do you think they're all kind of equally yoked right now, and we kind of have to wait to see if one of them emerges or if someone bigger gets in?
No one's really stood out in my view. I think the field is still very early. I think former Governor LePage has the second congressional district on a lock. I think him coming maybe surprised or upturned some of the plans that other people had been, developing. But I would say that there's no clear consensus candidate that I've seen, even amongst insiders. I think that it's still very, very early. We're going to see there'll be candidates jumping into this race, very late this year. So I think it's far too early to talk about anybody having, developed any kind of a lead or any kind of a foothold. But the earlier you get in the race, the more mistakes you can make along the way. I'll say that.
Yeah, I think we'll be watching for that. We'll be watching what happens once the first quarter ends and they have to report their finances too. That'll tell us a bit. I think they're all racing towards some sort of June fundraising deadline because I'm hearing from all of them. All right, so last question in the 3 minutes we have left. You've been obviously at the Maine Wire following the illegal marijuana grows that the Chinese organized crime is doing here in Maine. What's the latest?
Well, I mean, if you really want the latest, you should probably read the Press Herald because they're excellent at repackaging my stories from 8 months ago.
A year and a half ago.
Yeah. I think the latest is there's some high politics going on in the legislature around the issue of cannabis. There's every legislative session there's one attempt at a kind of a cannabis omnibus bill. And I think the issue that they're trying to navigate right now is hemp-derived products. And this gets a little bit complicated for a short segment, but if you can pull psychoactive ingredients from hemp or non-psychoactive ingredients from hemp and turn it into psychoactive ingredients, You can basically sell it anywhere in this state. No age gate, drinks at gas stations, wherever. So there's a lack of regulation around what is a psychoactive compound that's identical to which you'd find in adult rec cannabis or medicinal cannabis. So I think they're trying to straighten out that rule on the, I guess, maybe in the legal realm of cannabis. But on the illegal side, you're still stuck in I would say a wait and see game where the FBI and Kash Patel say they're staffing up and they're getting ready to take the problem seriously. There's no evidence of that I've seen. It's not like raids or federal action has increased. I will say that we've noticed from sources and from our own investigations that it does appear to be that the illegal growers are retreating out of certain areas where they feel like they're more vulnerable and into the areas where John Hudak has offered them protection from law enforcement in the form of a medicinal license. John Hudak, of course, being Governor Mills' pot czar, who admitted in January that he's been giving licenses, de facto protection to elements of Chinese organized crime.
I don't know that I could make that up. Like, even if I tried, I don't know that I could make up that that's how marijuana policy would be in action. I know that Governor LePage warned a lot about what happens when you mix like business and crime and marijuana and you just create these attractive targets. But do you think it's Mills' lack of leadership that's led to this, or what do you credit it with?
I don't really know. She won't comment on it. She won't say anything. It's been now 3 years. Really, I think, 5 years, 6 years since the criminal conspiracy started. 300, 400 different properties around the state engaged in drug trafficking, human trafficking, sex trafficking, and by, not for nothing, America's number one geopolitical adversary that's recently been caught trying to smuggle bioweapons and agro-weapons into the U.S. She hasn't had anything to say about it. And, the number one guy at the Chinese consulate in New York was at her inauguration. So, people, I think, are beginning to connect the dots, especially when they see that her brother, Paul Mills, the Farmington attorney, is helping these guys close land deals.
Yeah. People are noticing the Maine Wire is covering the story, and you can check Steve out at themainewire.com or subscribe to the Robinson Report on Substack. Steve Robinson, always good to talk to you. Hope you have a great camping trip.
Hey, thanks, Aaron.